Democrats continue to wrestle on what to do with salt and if they can even agree to raise the cap. Robert Frank joins us right now with more on what could create a super salt deduction for the wealthy. And Robert, I kind of thought with all the wrangling, this one was simply off the table.
So far, we'll see what happens during these negotiations, but just lifting the salt cap, that will be the easy part. Any change in salt will also have to address two other major tax provisions that could complicate any reform. That's because the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act made three big changes related to salt. First, there was that $10,000 cap, but it also got rid of most of the alternative minimum tax and repealed what's called the PEAS limitations. Those two programs effectively limited the amount of state and local taxes that high earners could deduct from their federal taxes without restoring those. Repealing salt could create what some are calling a super salt windfall for the wealthy. That's because, according to the Tax Foundation, repealing salt and restoring the AMT and PEAS gives the one percenters a tax cut of around $7,000 a year. If they just repeal salt without bringing back those other two clauses, the tax cut is around $25,000 a year. Now, earners between $200,000 and $500,000 a year, they get a tax cut of $2,400 with straight salt repeal, but a tax increase of $2,000 if you repeal salt and you bring back those other two provisions. So these were provisions, guys, that basically limited the impact and the benefits of salt. If you don't also bring those back, then this not only could become a regressive tax, but even more regressive than we had pre-Tax Cuts and Jobs Act.
This can't be lost on the legislators. I would assume they know all of this and they've taken it into account, Robert?
One would assume, Becky. I reached out to Josh Gottheimer, many of those on the Salt Caucus. They didn't respond. So we'll see. What's interesting about this, if they don't bring these other two pieces back, this creates even more of an incentive in high-tax states to raise taxes because there is even more benefit to deducting those taxes than we had even before the Trump tax cuts.
Wow.